Hey everyone, Ian Higton here. So in the following review chat video, you're going to be seeing actual, genuine Quest 2 gameplay footage that I recorded by myself, because I'm a big boy now. Now, normally the native video recording on a Quest 2 headset, well, it ain't so good, but I found out a way to fiddle with the quality settings using SideQuest, and that's why you're seeing all this lovely full-screen footage on screen right now. But because I'm a Quest 2 noob, what I didn't know is that once the headset shuts down, like it did last night when I sent my ass to bed, it resets all of those little quality settings that I fiddled with, and it puts it back to potato vision. Which is why in this review chat video, you'll also see footage that looks like this. So when you see this stuff, just bear in mind that it looks a lot better than that in the actual headset, but I just wanted to show off some interesting footage from a bit later in the game, and I'm too lazy to go back in and re-record it all. So now we've got that out of the way, let's crack on with the review chat.
Resident Evil 4.
Aoife Wilson, I've been playing loads of Resident Evil 4 VR, and I can't wait to tell you all about it.
Have you now? Interesting. I've been excited about this one. It kind of like was announced all of a sudden, right? Like not that long ago.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise announcement in a fair few ways, because it was a surprise announcement because it was the first ever Oculus Quest 2 exclusive. So people like me who just had an Oculus Quest 1 actually couldn't play it.
Oh, no.
So I've had to buy an Oculus Quest 2.
Ian, you say you've had to buy an Oculus Quest 2. I'm sure it wasn't too much of a hardship for you. You love VR, so you're the perfect person to talk about this.
That's true. No, my arm didn't have to get bent too far behind my back in order for me to buy it. But yeah, it's out this week, and we're calling this a review chat, but I should point out that at the moment I haven't had enough time to complete it. I've played up until you get to the castle, basically. So
okay, that's a fair bit through.
Yeah.
Isn't enough to certainly get a flavour of it. So what's it all about? Like who made this VR adaptation, I suppose?
Yeah, so it's developed by a company called Armature Studios, and it's published by Capcom and Facebook. Hence the Quest 2 exclusivity.
Oh.
And they've done a really good job in taking the original game and expanding it, moulding it, and just making it play well in VR, because they can't just take the original game and plonk it onto VR without changing a few bits and bobs here and there to make it comfortable and to make the gameplay actually work in stereoscopic 3D. Well,
yeah, because honestly, the first thing I thought of when they said there was going to be a Resident Evil 4 in VR was it's a really old game now, and we've played through the remaster not that long ago, and yeah, it looks better, but I can't picture it how it looks in VR. Like, how did they upgrade it? Like, does it look okay?
Yeah, it actually looks great. I mean, obviously, we've played the remaster recently. It basically looks like the remaster, but instead of it being a flat game, you're like stood in the middle of it. It's like looking at screenshots of the remaster in a magazine. Oh, remember magazines?
A magazine?
Yeah, and then going on holiday and visiting that actual place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Armature have done a really good job in taking all the old assets and remastering the art, like repainting some bits and up-resing the textures and stuff, because you get a lot closer to objects in VR than you would do in flat. And they've also done, they've changed the geometry a bit, so in the original game, perhaps you'd walk to the edge of somewhere and the way the camera turns or whatever, you wouldn't be able to see as far as if you could when you lean forward in VR, so they've just expanded some of the environments, giving you a few more views to look at, and made things work a little bit better for movement in VR.
These are some things that I wouldn't even have thought about as the differences between the flat version and the VR version, because it's actually a whole lot more complicated than you would even realize, like, as you say, like you're much more able to move in VR and maybe see the seams a little bit more. That must have been a huge amount of work.
It's all basically from Leon's view now. It's not third person anymore, apart from at certain points. So it's all from Leon's face, basically. You're seeing the world through Leon's eyes. And
It's actually it's a much smoother world as well because it's been upgraded to 60 frames per second compared to the original 30 frames per second. So it's nice and smooth in VR, and yeah, you get to see the world from the side parting.
Are you telling me we don't get to see Leon's curtains? Is that what you're telling me?
We do get to see Leon's curtains, but only in flat cutscenes. What happens with this game, unfortunately, they couldn't render all the cutscenes.
Oh, they'd have to make them from scratch, wouldn't they? Really?
Yeah. So basically, all the cutscenes are exactly the same as you remember them from the flat version. So when you're watching those, you're kind of almost stood in. It's almost like an empty car park in a way, with it being projected on a wall in front of you. You can move your hands around, but that's it. You just kind of stood watching this like mini theatre of the cutscenes. Occasionally, it'll switch to cutscenes as well when when Leon throws himself through windows and stuff, because if you were to do a tumble in first person in VR out of a window, you'd probably be sick on your shoes.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because there's so many little... Because obviously RE4 is when the series took that turn into more action-oriented kind of stuff. So there are, there's those, running away from boulders and, doing all these little things. What about interacting with objects? Has that changed much? Because one of my favorite moments, early moments from the game, is, when you have to smash the boxes and then there's a snake in them and they just...
Yeah, the snakes are still there. And yeah, interacting with objects is actually quite cool because you're playing in first person and you have the two controllers as your hands. You've got free movement of where you place your hands, and your body is basically your tool belt now. So if you grab your left shoulder, you'll pull your knife out, and then you can physically swipe and smash the boxes with the knife. If a snake is in there, you can slash at the snake and try and kill it. Or if, like me, you miss and panic, it'll bite you on the shins.
I've definitely done that.
Yeah, because this game can be played sat down, stood up, or full room scale, they've come up with a good way to make it interacting with objects and picking things up really easy. When you move close to something that you can pick up, it kind of jumps up to head height, and then you can just...
What, the object just floats?
Yeah, it just pops up into the air, just so you can grab it. You can just reach your hand out and grab it.
A little bit immersion breaking, is it?
It's not too bad. I mean, this is a game where when you shoot a crow, a chest full of coins comes out. It's
point taken, yeah, okay.
So you can live with it, and it's a nice, easy way to do it. I've played a lot of VR games where you're really struggling to pick something up because it's too far down onto the floor or whatever. Everything's really streamlined. Reloading guns is really nice and easy. It's physically done. You have this floating, almost like belt, like the Phasmophobia belt that you have almost.
Oh, yeah.
It just has your pistol on one side, your ammo on the other, so you can grab your pistol, reload, cock your gun really quickly, and then you can fire. And then you have things like you mentioned, running away from boulders. Those things are done via QuickTime, and instead of pressing a button at the right time, in this one you have to shake your controllers like maracas to run really fast. Occasionally, like in a boss fight or something, to dodge out the way, it will make you lift your controllers up in a certain direction or move them to the right or to the left. It surprises you with those things. So it keeps the QuickTime elements in there, but makes it feel a little bit more physical and immersive.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the boss fight, so I assume you've gotten to the lake, so you've had it.
Yes.
And the ogre as well. So how were those boss fights?
Yeah, they're cool. Like the fish, the big fishy lake. What is it? Is it a tadpole? It's like an angry...
It's a crocodile.
Whole crocodile thing. Yeah, it's got a weird fish mouth, but a crocodile body. That fight especially has been slightly altered for VR. They give you a little warning beforehand, actually, about your
seasickness
your
or
comfort
lake
settings. They're like, are you really sure you want this to be immersive? Because it might make you spew. Here's a chance to put it to a little bit more of a comfortable setting. And I kept it on.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I kept it
consummate
immersive.
Professional.
And it is quite intense. You get dragged around on this boat and smacked into pieces of scenery and stuff, and you have to lean down by your side, pick up spears, fire them from your spear gun and stuff. It's quite intense. It goes on for quite a while. But
is it scary when the big mouth is coming at you?
Oh, totally. I tell you what. Do you remember when we did the playthrough? And
You told me to shoot
people
the
were like,
water.
Shoot the water.
Yeah.
I did shoot the water, and when that thing's mouth comes at you from under
Oh.
the waves, it just comes up at you. It is bloody terrifying. It's massive.
And what about, okay, so, but I need to ask about the ogre, because I need to
Oh,
ask
yes.
if the dog is still okay.
So the dog
Does the
is
dog come
fine.
and
The
help
dog
you?
is in
Yeah.
it. As long as you rescue the dog from...
Can you pet it, though?
You cannot pet the dog, no. I wanted to, but as soon as I rescued it from the bear
Ran
trap at the
away,
beginning,
yeah.
it legged it off, and then it came back again for the ogre fight. The ogre fight's exactly the same, basically,
Okay.
as it is before. You can finish it with one shot from a rocket launcher if you want, or you can do a big fight with it and, you know, shoot it, knock it to its knees, and then if you run up to it, you get a prompt to climb on its back, and then you have to pull out your knife and slash away at it physically. I tell you what, the VR makes the combat way easier, I reckon.
Oh,
Like,
how so?
well, aiming with the guns is, at least with the pistols, they have red dot sights on them, so it's really easy to nail headshots.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So, because it's so much easier to nail headshots, I'm not wasting as many bullets. When you shoot someone, you can run up and you do the Leon spin kick.
Oh, yes, little...
Yeah, that goes third person when Leon does his spin kick, because otherwise, again, that would be another vomit-inducing moment if you
Oh,
were in
God.
first person for that. But it's a lot easier. I found it, I don't know whether it's because we played it recently or not. I found it so much easier to defeat all the villages and stuff.
So the game's easier in VR.
I feel like it is. When you start the game, you only get the choice to play on easy or normal. I presume
Right.
harder difficulties unlock as you go. But easy mode, I didn't play. I was only playing on normal.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's less panic. One of the things that I always found about Resident Evil 4 is the controls are a little bit clunky.
Yes.
And that makes you panic a little bit more in
It
combat
does.
situations. And in this, it's so much more easier to hit shots, even with the shotgun and stuff, you know, even with things that don't have laser sights. And because of that, I think what they've done to kind of, you know, level it out a bit is make the enemies do a bit more damage to you. It feels like you get damaged way more when you get hit than you did before. So they've balanced it a bit.
they'd need to do something to make it so that it isn't just completely like too easy, right? Needs to be
Totally.
a bit of a challenge. I guess one of the biggest questions people have is Ashley still as annoying as she used to be?
That depends what you mean by annoying. She's still constantly going, Leon! And getting into trouble, getting picked up, and, you know, yeah, just like that. And, you know, you can make her wait places, but if you make her wait too long, then
Make her
she
wait in
gets-
the bin where she belongs.
Yeah, she gets taken, and then it's like game over, you know, and so that's all still as annoying as before. But Armature have updated her AI a bit to make her a little bit more, well, a little bit less stupid, I guess. She's not going to put herself in harm's way as much. She still blocks doorways a little bit, but she's definitely more manageable than she was before. She does have a very small head in VR, though. I don't know what I was expecting.
What do you mean? In comparison to your body?
Yeah, the scale of everything is maybe a little bit smaller than I would have liked. Some of the bad guys that you'd imagine they're like 6 foot tall, hulking villagers seem, you know, not massive. Like
I always pictured the ones in the castle being like really tall, you know, with all the ropes and stuff that they
yeah,
wear.
they are a bit taller, but yeah, Ashley does seem quite miniature. I mean, I don't know how much
what
brain could be in that head. It's very
Not
small.
very much if you know precedent tells us anything. But hey, so you know the bits where you jump down a ledge and then you catch her. How do they work?
Same kind of deal, really. You jump down and then you walk up to the wall.
Does she tell you off for looking up her skirt?
She does, yeah. If you look up, she won't tell you off, but she kind of, you know, hides her modesty.
Because you'd think it'd be easier to do it in VR as well, and I would have thought they'd put like a little Easter egg or something in for that, because that's just video games.
Yeah, no, there was no. I didn't get a trophy for it or anything, but I did. Yeah, you get to the bottom of the ladder, and then when you press the thing to catch her, you kind of instinctively look up, and then she's like, "Woo!"
Well, you have to look up to see where she's coming from.
Exactly. But when you do press that button, then it turns to flat, and it's just you get a flat cutscene of
her
Ashley
jumping, right?
You catch him.
Is the transition between like the flat and the is that comfortable? Is it okay? Like,
yeah, it's pretty good actually. They change it up a lot. Sometimes when you're doing stuff like catching Ashley, it just cuts to flat. Other times, when you climb up or down a ladder, it'll fade to black, and then you'll be at the bottom or the top of the ladder. And sometimes, if you just have to jump over something little, it just kind of like skips you forward a bit. So they tailor all these different instances to make it as comfy as possible at the time.
What are you buying?
is there anything else that they've added that you want to like kind of shout out?
Yeah, so the inventory management and all that stuff.
Oh, the suitcase,
that's done really good. Yeah, so you
Attaché
physically
case.
kind of, I mean, you don't physically grab these things. The menu is flat-ish. It's all in VR, but it's like a flat wall, and you have all the bits in your inventory, and then you point at them, and then you press the grab button, and you pick them up, and if you twist your wrist, you can,
turn them
stack
around,
them either vertically or horizontally, so you can move things around, and it's way less fiddly than it is in the flat version. I can invent my inventory well quickly now. I can do all that inventorying super fast, and it's really nice and comfortable. And talking about that, I do need to talk about my favourite thing about Resident Evil 4.
What is it?
Hunnigan.
Hunnigan! Oh, what a babe! Yes.
So you remember in the originals, like when you talk to Hunnigan, it just comes up with a static screen, and it's like.
Yes.
In this game, you will, when Hunnigan rings, everything kind of fades to black and white. And you pull out a little communicator device, and you press the button on the front, and it flips open, and there you have that screen that you normally see in flat, but then you can move it around. You can hold, you can get up close and personal to Hunnigan if you want, or you can just listen to it while staring around at the scenery.
That's an interesting addition. Yeah.
Yeah, it just adds a little bit more interaction to it,
yeah,
rather than just watching another flat cutscene.
I mean, do you think they've done a good job overall? Like, how janky is it, or does it actually work really well?
It works really, really well. It's not that janky at all. In fact, tracking-wise, the motion controllers is great. The gameplay's nice and smooth. Obviously, the graphics aren't, it's taken from a really old game, all these graphics, but it looks really nice. If every shade of brown
brown
is nice
time,
to you. But yeah, in general, I'm really impressed by the performance of it, and just the technical accomplishment of turning this classic game into a VR event.
I'm really glad to hear that, because I wasn't sure what to expect, but it sounds like they've done a really good job. Well, I'm more excited about this than I was now. Gotta say. I mean, I don't have a Quest, so it doesn't really matter. But I enjoy looking. I will look forward to seeing you play it for sure.
Yeah, well, you never know. Next time I'm in the office, when we finally get together in the office, I can bring it down and you can have a look if you want. But
yes, please.
I would 100% recommend it if you own a Quest 2, and definitely if you're a fan of the Resident Evil series. Well, mainly Resident Evil 4. It's such a classic game, and to be able to visit this game that many of us have loved for many, many years in this brand new viewpoint, see the world from Leon's eyes, see all these familiar locations and events that you've played years ago from up close and personal. It's,
I am
great.
just upset that they've taken the option of having a knife fight with Ada Wong and 3D away from me.
Well, does that happen? Is that in
VR?
VR? It's in a cutscene though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that won't be in VR. But Ada 1 might be in VR for a little bit.
Ada Wong better be in VR for a little bit. I would be very disappointed if not.
Hopefully her head's not as tiny as Ashley's.
Everything of Ada Wong's is perfectly proportioned, I'll have you know.
Well, you can have Ada. I'll stick with Hunnigan.
That's quite all right.
And then we can kill Ashley.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for this little... I'm just going to breeze past the bit that you just suggested murder of the president's daughter. But thank you very much for this little insight into RE4 VR. I'm more excited about it than I was, for sure.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening to me natter on. You lot at home as well, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like, do subscribe, and come back on Sunday for Ian's VR Corner, where I'll be playing through the first hour of the game.
Ooh.
So there's plenty to see. No Ashley, though, in that part.
Ashley.
Don't come!
Hey, take it easy.
All right, cheers, Aoife. I'm going to go play more RESI 4.
Enjoy! Bye!
Bye!
My name's Leon. I'm under the President's order to rescue you.
What? My father?
That's right. And I have to get you out of here. Now come with me.